A very good day to you all, and welcome to lecture number 2 of Cricket South Africa's Level 2 umpiring course, brought to you by Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. My name is Tom Mokorosi. I am the training coordinator of Western Province Cricket Umpires Association, and as usual, my presenter for today, who will be joining later, is Abdullah Steenkamp. I will be taking you through laws 1 through to law 5, and Abdullah will take us through laws 6 through to laws 11. After which, we will open the floor up for questions and answers. While we present, you are welcome to type your questions into the chat box and we will answer them after the presentation. Of course, you may also, once we open the floor up for questions and answers, you may raise your virtual hand and we will take those questions live at the end of the lecture. This lecture is being recorded and will be posted onto our YouTube channel at least 15 hours after the end of the lecture. Just a quick reminder that the lectures are free, but the exam fee applies for all of you who would like to write the Cricket South Africa Level 2 exam. It is $35 for candidates outside of South Africa, and it is 350 rands for candidates who are in South Africa. The payment details for the exam fee are in the emails that I sent, both the course material and logistics email, as well as the lecture reminder emails. Any questions related to admin will also be taken at the end of today's lecture. So let's move into the laws that we will be covering today, starting with Law 1, the players. I'm sure we all know that the players are nominated using a team sheet, and this team sheet can be filled in by any member of either team, and it is to be brought to the toss to be presented to the umpires. Law tells us that each captain shall nominate his or her players in writing to one of the umpires before the toss. To the right of the screen, we have a picture of a Western Province Cricket Association club cricket team sheet. It is a little bit outdated. We no longer play 2-day cricket, but we still play 1-day limited 50 overs per side cricket. And our T20 competition is called the AMA20s. The teams need to fill out the league, the venue, and the date of the match, as well as the teams that are playing. In fact, the umpires normally fill out the top section of the page and then hand it to the team for them just to fill out the name of their team, as well as the 11 players who are nominated to participate in the match. At the bottom of the team sheet, we have names of the 2 umpires officiating the match. Very importantly, no player may be changed after the nomination without the consent of the opposing captain. What does that mean? We will learn later in Law 13 that the toss takes place within a 15-minute window period. That window period starts 30 minutes before the scheduled start or rescheduled start of play, and it closes 15 minutes before the scheduled or rescheduled start of play. So if we have a match starting at 10 a.m., the toss needs to take place between 9:30 and 9:45 a.m. So what happens if after both captains have submitted their team sheets at the toss, but before the start of the match, during a warm-up, one of Team A's players gets injured? Can that player be replaced and the name changed on the team sheet to the replacement player? Law tells us, yes, it can be changed, but only with the consent of the opposing captain. What if the opposing captain refuses to give consent? Then the team with the injured player can request to play with a substitute who will field. They will not be allowed to bat or bowl or act as captain, but they can field in place of the injured player. So if the opposing captain were to allow a player to be replaced, that replacement can take full part in the match, bat, bowl, even act as captain. But if the opposing captain does not allow a replacement player, then the umpires can allow a substitute to field in the place of the injured player. The substitute can only field and keep wicket, cannot bat, cannot bowl, cannot act as a captain. Very importantly, if a replacement is allowed by the opposing captain, the replacement player shall be considered the same player as the nominated player he or she has replaced for the purposes of these laws. A replacement player, therefore, if the replacement happens after the match has started, law allows for that. A replacement player shall not bat in an innings which the nominated player that he or she is replacing has completed his or her innings. Okay, so if a twisted their ankle when they were walking off the field after being dismissed, yes, if the opposing captain allows for a replacement of that injured player, that player can take full part in the match, but because the original player has already been dismissed in his batting innings, the replacement player cannot bat in that innings. If there is a second innings, yes, then the replacement player can bat in the second innings. Any unserved penalty times, warning, or suspensions that applied to the original nominated player will be inherited by his or her replacement. So if the injured player was a bowler and he or she was on 2 warnings for running in the protected area as a bowler, then the player who has replaced that injured player cannot go on to the protected area. They will risk being suspended from bowling for the rest of the innings because they are already on the second and final warning, as inherited from the player that they replaced. If at any time the captain is not available, a deputy shall act on his or her behalf. If a captain is not available to nominate the players, then any person associated with that team may act as his or her deputy to do so. As I mentioned a couple of slides ago, anybody can fill in the team sheet and anyone can submit the team sheets to the umpires. However, at any time after the nomination of the players, only a nominated player can act as deputy in discharging the duties and responsibilities of the captain. This includes the toss. So if your coach is not a player coach, he or she cannot represent the team at the toss. Only one of the nominated 11 players can represent the team at the toss. Ideally, it should be the captain, but in the absence of the captain, then a vice captain will in place of the captain. Moving on to Law 2, the umpires. The main duties of the umpires is the communication and consultation with captains throughout the match. Law tells us that even before the match starts, at the toss, the umpires will meet with the captains to determine the following. Number one, the balls to be used during the match. These need to be the same for both teams. You cannot have one team using a Kookaburra turf ball and the other team using a Duke's ball. It's got to be the same make as well as the same type of ball for both teams. The captains and the umpires also need to determine the hours of play and the times and durations of the intervals for the match. If there are no playing conditions for a particular tournament, this is just a friendly game between two teams. All of these need to be decided upon at the toss. Also, we need to decide upon which clock is to be used during the match as the official timepiece. If there is not a stadium clock that is visible to everyone, then we need to have either or both umpires' watches as the official timepieces. And as a result, we need to ensure that the two umpires, their watches are synchronized, as well as the scorers, so that we are all on the same page in terms of timings for the match. We also need to discuss with the captains the boundary of the field of play and allowances for boundary, including whether any obstacle within the field of play is to be regarded as a boundary if the ball hits it. So pictured to the right of the slide is a big oak tree in Pietermaritzburg Oval. It's been there even before the field was built. So you can see that it is about 3 or 4 meters inside the field of play. And so when you umpire at the Pietermaritzburg Oval, you need to confirm what is the local custom when the ball hits the tree. When the ball rolls along the ground and hits the tree, and when the ball is hit in the air and hits the top leaf of the tallest branch, are we going to signal boundary 4? Are we going to signal boundary 6? Or are we going to allow play to continue and the batters to keep running between wickets? So the local custom at Pietermaritzburg Oval is that if the ball hits the tree, whether along the ground or in the air, it does not matter, even if it's the top leaf of the tallest branch, the ball definitely would have gone over the rope, but The custom there is the ball will be declared a boundary 4. So anytime the ball hits the tree while it is in play, whether along the ground or in the air, boundary 4 is the custom at Pietermaritzburg Oval. It might be different at another ground, but at Pietermaritzburg Oval, that is the local custom that they have adopted ever since cricket has been played there. At the toss, we also need to speak to the captains about the use of covers. Quite often, you might find a batting side is in trouble and they are playing and praying for the rain to come around and save them. So you might find that the batting side is reluctant to pull covers and make sure that the pitch is protected from getting wet during a rain interruption. So what we as umpires need to do is at the toss, we need to tell both captains that if it starts drizzling at any time during the match, the fielding side will obviously carry on playing until play is called off. The batting side should walk while it's drizzling towards the covers so that as soon as the umpires signal for the covers to come on, then the batting side can start pulling the covers onto the field. And as soon as the fielding side is done fielding and the ball is dead, then the fielding side can go towards the covers and help the batting side to pull the covers on. It is the responsibility of both teams to pull covers. We also need to mention any special conditions that affect the course of a match. An example of a special condition affecting the course of a match, many years ago, while the former Queen of England was still alive, she wanted to meet and greet the players of England versus Australia who were involved in an Ashes Test match at Lord's. Those of you who know the Test match times in England, their morning session is from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. At 12 midday, which is the only time that the Queen of England was available, there would be a drinks break, but that drinks break is not long enough for how long the Queen needed to come onto the field and shake everybody's hands. So they decided for that match alone that they would have a 15-minute break in play while the Queen came from the stands in the royal box, probably at Lord's, down to the ground to shake all the players' hands and then walk back up when she was done. So if I'm not mistaken, they extended that session. So instead of lunch being taken at 1 p.m., they took lunch that day at 1:15 to make up for the 15 minutes that were taken for the Queen's meet and greet. So that was a special condition that affected the course of that match, and it would have been spoken about at the toss. Who is responsible for ensuring that fair and unfair play or fair play takes place on the field? The umpires shall be the sole judges of fair and unfair play. Not the players, not the coaches, not the commentators, only the umpires. Who is responsible to decide if the field is fit for play? Once again, it is solely for the umpires together to decide whether conditions of ground, weather, or light, or exceptional circumstances mean that it would be dangerous or unreasonable for play to take place. Very importantly, conditions shall not be regarded as dangerous or unreasonable merely because they are not ideal. The fact that the grass and the ball are a little bit wet does not warrant the ground conditions to be regarded as unreasonable or dangerous. We've all played cricket in a little bit of drizzle. It is not dangerous. If, however, we play for so long in the drizzle that the ball becomes wet and difficult for the bowler to grip, then there is a risk that the ball will slip out of the bowler's hand and it could end up hitting another player. So then we would consider the conditions to be dangerous. But light drizzle for about 5 minutes will definitely not be considered dangerous. Law tells us that conditions shall be regarded as dangerous if there is actual or foreseeable risk to the safety of players or umpires. And what would we determine as unreasonable conditions to carry on playing? A dust storm, for example, is not necessarily dangerous, but because players won't be able to easily see the ball during a dust storm, it would not be sensible for play to proceed during a dust storm. That would be an example of unreasonable conditions in which to continue play. So how do we define or determine dangerous conditions? There are 4 things we need to consider. We need to consider the foothold of the bowlers. Where they land, especially fast bowlers, needs to be hard, firm, and dry. If it is wet, soft, and slippery, that would be dangerous. Do the batters have the ability to play their strokes and run in between the wickets with freedom? If the sides of the pitch, where the pitch ends and the rest of the square starts, if that is muddy, that's normally where the batters run, that would be considered dangerous. Lastly, we need to look at the fielders. Do they have freedom of movement? If the field underneath the feet of a fielder moves when he or she tries to run, turn, dive, or move in quick order, then we will consider those conditions also dangerous. So what happens when we consider conditions to be dangerous or unreasonable? Law tells us that if at any time the umpires together agree that conditions of ground, weather, or light have become dangerous or unreasonable, they shall immediately suspend play or not allow play to start or recommence. If play is in progress and the umpires do not agree about such conditions, they shall immediately suspend play. So to promote safety of players, if one umpire feels conditions are fine, but the other umpire feels conditions are dangerous, then play shall be suspended. When there's a suspension of play, it is the responsibility of the umpires to monitor conditions. They shall make inspections as often as appropriate, unaccompanied by any players or officials. And as soon as the umpires together agree that the conditions are no longer dangerous or unreasonable, they shall call upon the players to resume play. Very important, when you do your ground inspections during a rain interruption, the rain has now subsided. You want to check the field if it is ready and fit for play yet. Please do that inspection without being accompanied by anybody else except your partner for the day who's umpiring with you. Even the ground staff might be influenced by the home side as to whether they want to play or not, depending on the situation that they find themselves in, the match situation that they find themselves in. So please do your inspections alone with your partner before informing the players or asking for help from the ground authority as to how best to get the field ready. Next law that I'm covering is Law 3, the scorers. How many scorers per match need to be appointed? As per law, 2 scorers shall be appointed to record all runs scored, all wickets taken, and the number of overs bowled in the match. The scorers shall frequently check to ensure that their records agree, and they shall agree with the umpires at every interval, other than the drinks interval, because we don't go off the field during the drinks break. So it would be impractical for us to try and check the correctness of the score or that the scorers agree during a drinks break. But all other intervals and at the conclusion of the match, the scorers need to ensure that their records agree, and the umpires need to check with the scorers that their scores agree. We as umpires do not count score while we are on the field, but we are responsible for the final correctness of the score. So we need to ask the scorers if they are happy with the scores. What else do the scorers do? Of course, they acknowledge umpires' signals. Law tells us that the scorers shall accept all instructions and signals given to them by umpires and shall immediately acknowledge each signal separately. The penultimate law that I will be presenting is Law 4, the ball. We know that in more-day cricket, there is a possibility of more than one new ball being used. But in all formats of cricket, unless an agreement to the contrary has been made before the match, either captain may demand a new ball at the start of each innings. In a match of more than 1 day's duration, the captain of the fielding side may demand a new ball when the number of overs, excluding any part overs, bowled with the old one is equal to or greater than 80 overs. So we often see in test match cricket where the overs are unlimited in an innings, that after 80 overs, the option is available to the fielding captain to call for a second new ball. And if that second new ball is taken, then the umpire at which end the new ball will first be used will raise the new ball to show the scorers, and the scorers will acknowledge, and you as the bowlers and umpire need to inform the batters at the crease that a new ball has been taken. What happens when a ball gets lost or becomes unfit for play? Law tells us that if during play the ball cannot be found or recovered, or the umpires agree that it has become unfit for play through normal, the umpire shall replace it with a ball which has had wear and tear comparable with that which the previous ball had before the need for its replacement. So in the picture at the bottom of the slide, we see a ball gauge in use. I've got a ball gauge here with me. This ball gauge is to check the size and the shape of a cricket ball used for men's cricket. So there are two rings. The big ring is 229 millimeters in circumference, and the ball should go easily through the big ring. The small ring is 5 millimeters smaller in circumference, and the ball should not go through the small ring. That tells me that this ball is still in shape and is still the correct size for men's cricket. If the ball does not go through the big ring, means it's too big or it's out of shape. If the ball goes through the small ring, it means it is too small. So if it fails the ball gauge test, then a replacement ball shall be picked by the umpires. Neither side shall have any say as to the pick of the replacement ball. Law tells us that we as umpires need to pick a ball that is similar in wear and tear to the one that is being replaced. Obviously, if the one that is being replaced was out of shape, we should not use a ball that is out of shape. But in all other aspects, it should be as close as possible to the ball that we are replacing. And when the ball is replaced, the umpire shall inform the batters at the crease and the fielding captain. We are informing the batters and informing the fielding captain. We are not asking them if they are okay if we use this ball, because you're always going to have a debate with the batting side wanting a hard, newish ball, and the bowling side want a old, roughed up ball that can reverse swing. Last law that I'm covering, and then I'll be handing over to Abdullah, is law 5, the bat. And for law 5, we are touching on when is the bat considered to have made contact with the ball. There are a few instances when the bat is considered to have made contact with the ball. Law tells us that if the bat itself has made contact with the ball, then yes, runs will be scored. If the batter's hand holding the bat has made contact with the ball, then yes, again, runs will be scored, and also a batter can be caught if the ball has hit the hand holding the bat. Obviously, if a batter is wearing gloves, then if the ball makes contact with any part of the glove worn on the batter's hand holding the bat, then that will be considered as the ball making contact with the bat. And a lot of batters use toe guards or tape on their bat if the ball makes contact with any additional material like a toe guard, like a tape, like the grip, then it is considered as having made contact with the bat. Now let's look at the picture below. We see Marcus Stoinis of Australia. This was a 2023 One-Day International World Cup match against South Africa. Bowler bowled the ball down leg. Marcus Stoinis attempted to play a shot. And we can see from the ultra edge spike that the ball did make contact with something. And upon closer inspection, the picture on the right-hand side of the screen is a bit blurred, but the ball did touch Marcus Stoinis's bottom glove. But on the right-hand picture on the screen, we can see that Marcus Stoinis's glove is not holding the bat at the time that the ball made contact with that glove. So, according to laws and the points listed above, has the ball made contact with Marcus Stoinis's bat? The answer here is no. Why? Because when the ball made contact with Marcus Stoinis's glove, which is his bottom hand, the glove was not holding the bat. Therefore, this decision, Quinton de Kock took the catch, South Africa appealed, and it was given out. Marcus Stoinis referred it, and the TV umpire unfortunately got this decision wrong. He also gave Marcus Stoinis out. Upon review of the review, it was clear that the hand that the ball had touched, or the glove that the ball has touched, was not holding the bat at the same time as the ball hitting the glove. Therefore, as per law, it is not considered as contact with the bat and should not have been given out court. So a lesson that we can take going forward, that only if a glove is holding the bat and the ball hits that glove holding the bat, will it be considered to have made contact with the bat. So let's take example, the same delivery, the same picture. If the ball had hit Marcus Stoinis's left glove, which is his top hand, that top hand is holding the bat very firmly, then yes, the correct decision would have been out court. Bat size limits. The overall length of the bat when the lower portion of the handle is inserted into the blade shall not be more than 96.52 centimeters. The blade of the bat shall not exceed the following dimensions: 10.8 centimeters in width, 6.7 centimeters in depth, including the thickest part of the meat of the bat. 4 centimeters is the limit that the edges can be thick. How can we check these limits? A bat needs to be able to pass through a bat gauge. And if it does, then we know that it is within the law's size limits. That is what a bat gauge looks like. And it's a simple test. You need to put a bat through all the way from top to bottom. And if it does go through, then the bat is of legal size. If it does not go through the bat gauge, then it is not of legal size. Do we confiscate players' bats if they are too big and cannot go through the bat gauge? No, we do not confiscate a player's bat. It belongs to him or her, not to us. We merely take a black marking pen and we put an X on the shoulder of the bat. And we as umpires know that we need to randomly look when a batter comes into bat. We need to look for any bats with X's marked on them. And if they are, then we would have to tell that batter to go take another bat that is of legal size, that doesn't have an X written on it by an umpire. In some competitions around the world, I think the IPL started at this past IPL season, where they do the bat gauge check just before the batter goes into bat. And I think they used to do that at the 100 as well. I'm not sure if they still did it this past season of the 100. In South Africa, we check randomly before a match while players are warming up. And so we don't check every single batter's bat, but we do keep an eye out while we are umpiring on the field for any bats with X's on them. Of course, this law was introduced in 2017, and since then, bat manufacturers know that they cannot make bats too big, so it's very rare that you find a bat not fitting through the bat gauge. That is all I will be presenting for today. I'm now handing over to Abdullah to take us through law 6 through to law 11. Rifat, I see you've got your hand up. We will answer all the questions first in the chat box after Abdullah's presentation, and then we will deal with the hands that are up in the meeting room. Thanks, Abdullah. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Tom. Good evening to you, and good evening to the rest of the attendees. Kicking off with Law 6, it covers the pitch. I'm going to do a few subsections under this particular law. Firstly, when it comes to the selection and preparation of the pitch before the game, the curator and his or her staff, they are responsible to choose which pitch this game is going to be played on, and they can then also prepare the pitch and the field as they see fit. But once the game has started, the umpires, they are now in charge, and they shall control its use and maintenance with the guidance of the law. We will see here when we get to law 9 how the law guides us when it comes to the preparation and maintenance of the playing area after the game has started. The law guides us and tell us exactly what can be done to the outfield, what can be done to the pitch in terms of the cutting and the rolling. But we'll get to it when we get to law 9. Are we allowed to change the pitch? The law allows for it, but there are conditions in place. Firstly, umpires and they together need to decide that it is now dangerous or unreasonable for play to continue on this particular pitch. And then also, before the pitch can be changed, we need the consent of both captains. And lastly, under this law, when it comes to junior cricket, here the governing body of cricket for that particular country, they decide and they determine what the length of the pitch should be for junior cricket. That's all I'm covering under law 6. Law 7 is the creases. I've only one slide under this law. And it's again just to emphasize it's a very important duty of the umpires. We need to make sure that before the game starts, and that's why it's important, according to law, to be at the field at least 45 minutes before the game starts, because part of our duties is to make sure that in terms of especially the measurements of the pitch and the creases, we need to make sure that those measurements comply with the law. I'm not going to go over the names of the creases and the measurements. We've done it in law 1, but I just wanted to emphasize the importance of making sure that the measurements comply with the law. That's why every single game, take your measurement tapes with you and do the measurements. When it comes to the wickets, there is only one subsection under this law that I'm going to focus on, and that is, are we allowed to dispense with the bails or not? Does the law allow for it? Yes, the law allows for it. The law tells us that, yes, we can remove the bails if necessary. There's only one time that you need to remove the bells, and that's in very strong winds. Here in Cape Town, South Africa, in our during our summer, we do have very strong winds, and there's always a need for us to remove the bells and not to waste unnecessary time. So yes, the law allows for it. But if you are going to decide to remove the bales due to strong winds, you then need to remove the bales at both ends. I can remember back in my playing days, I played club cricket in Cape Town for many years, and many of our games we had play umpires. So what would often happen is somehow the bales will only blow off at one end. So, I mean, we play umpires, we didn't know the laws. So we would only remove the bells from that particular end. The other end was fine and we just left it. But you can now see, according to the law, if you do decide to remove the bells from one end, you need to remove it from both ends. And then, as soon as conditions, ease down, the wind conditions ease down, please then put the bells back on, because as soon as you remove the bells, the law changes. And in this video, I'm explaining too. This was a level one face-to-face course that Tom and I did. And in this course, I explained how the law works when we the umpires decide, due to strong winds, to remove the bells from both ends. So let's have a listen to how the law works after removing the bells from both ends due to high winds. Bells on around about 1 o'clock, because it kept on, the bells kept on blowing off. And I'm getting old now, and I said, no, let's leave the bells. We're just wasting too much time continuously picking up the bells. So now we decided to remove the bells. And usually when you decide to remove the bells, there's only one reason. The wind keeps on blowing it off. And when you do decide to remove the bells from the stumps, you need to remove it from both ends. You cannot have a game where you say, I'm only removing the bells from this end because this is where it keeps on falling off. Unfortunately not. The law is quite clear on this. If you do decide to remove the bells because the wind blows it off, you need to remove it from both ends. So now we've decided to remove the bells from both ends. Now the law changes. All the law now tells us, once you decide to remove the bells, is the ball now just needs to touch any of the stumps. So now no need to hit it out the ground, throw it out the ground, do these. The fielder can do it if they want to, but not necessary. The law tells us all that now needs to happen is for the ball to touch the stumps. Now, from umpiring point of view, you now need to be on high alert, because remember, the ball just needs to touch the stumps, and it can be difficult. I had arguments already in my umpiring career, took off the bells, and the fielding side would say, yeah, but umpire, it kissed the stumps. Obviously, the batter's going to say, no, it didn't touch the stumps. What you need to do is you need to go and consult your colleague. Ask your colleague, did he hit the stump? Yes or no? If you're not sure, what do you do as umpires? Benefit goes to the batter. You must be 100% sure that either of you saw the ball at least touching the stumps. If not, give the benefit to the batter. So just to emphasize again, and don't get confused with, and we're going to cover it when we do Law 29, when in Law 29 is, and what we're going to cover there is, if while the ball is in play, let's say the wind blows off the bails, and then how do you put the wicket down? So we'll go into detail under Law 29, how you then put the wicket down in that instance, when while the ball in play and the wind blows it off. In this instance, the umpires decided to remove the bails due to high winds. And once you make that decision, now how do you put the wicket down? All that needs to happen, ball just needs to touch the stumps. As soon as it touches the stumps, that wicket is down according to the law. Law 9, and I mentioned it earlier when we covered the pitch. Before the game starts, when it comes to selection, preparation, and getting the field ready for the game, it is up to the curator and his or her staff. They can prepare that pitch and field how they see fit, getting it ready for the game. But once the game has started, once that toss takes place, the law guides us and tells us what we need to do in terms of maintaining and preparing the, the playing area. So the law focuses on more day cricket, and I'll use test match cricket as an example. So when it comes to the game has now started, and when it comes to mowing of the pitch and the outfield, the law wants both outfield and pitch to be mowed on each day that a match is expected to take place. Why? The law is trying to keep the conditions the same over the 5 days. Let's use test match cricket as an example that spans over 5 days. So before day one, 10 o'clock, or let's say the toss at 9:30, the curator prepared the pitch. Now we start on day one, and let's say we now move into day two. So now the law wants, and that's why they want the pitch and the outfield to be mowed, because we need to try to keep the pitch, the length of the grass on the pitch and on the outfield the same over the 5 days. Yes, I know the conditions, the pitch will deteriorate over the 5 days. Yeah, that is a fact. But in terms of the length of the grass of the pitch and the outfield, needs to be mowed on each day. Day two, before the start of day two, mowing of the pitch and outfield. Before the start of day three, mowing of the pitch and outfield. Similarly, day four, as well as before the start of play on day five, that pitch and outfield needs to be mowed. Sometimes due to rainy weather, it's not possible to mow the outfield. If that is the case, just speak to the captains and we will just inform the captains. We could unfortunately today not mow the outfield just
Oh, low.
due to the wetness of the outfield. So now we know the pitch and the outfield needs to be mowed. So when? What is the timing of this mowing? Again, here the law guides us. The law tells us when it comes to mowing of the pitch, not later than 30 minutes before plays to start. Let me use our test match as an example. So let's say South Africa and Zimbabwe play in this particular test match. So on the morning of the game starts, day one, we start at 10 and we play till 5 o'clock. Now we get to day two. We get to the morning of day two. Play starts at 10 o'clock. So all the law tells us is, yes, before the start of the day, the pitch needs to be mowed. We're not telling you exactly when you mow it. All we're telling you is the mowing of the pitch needs to be done by 9:30 if there's a 10 o'clock start. So 30 minutes before play is about to start, mowing of the pitch to be done. So yes, you can mow at 10 past 9, 9:15, 9:20, 9:25, as long as it's done before 9:30 if it's a 10 o'clock start, and that is the mowing of the pitch. When it comes to mowing of the outfield, 15 minutes before play is about to start. So if play on day 2 starts at 10 o'clock, by 9:45, mowing of the outfield to be done. So now we've covered mowing. Are we allowed to clear debris from the pitch? What is debris? Debris is this, on turf pitches you'll find small pieces of stone becoming loose from the soil as the batters run on it, bowlers run, small pieces become loose. This is, debris, these small pebbles, and they get scattered all over the pitch due to the running of the batters, bowlers bowling. So, can we clear those small pebbles that's now scattered across the pitch? Yes, the law allows for this. The laws tell us, yes, you allowed to clear the pitch of the debris. That's the technical word that the law used, but small stone pebbles, whatever you want to call it, same thing. So the law allows for it. Firstly, before the start of each day's play, you can clear the pitch of this debris, these small pebbles or stones. And it needs to be done after the completion of mowing, but before any rolling. So before the day starts, you can do it. Between innings, the law allows for debris to be cleared from the pitch, but you'll first clear the debris and then you'll do the rolling. This is now between innings. Also, the law allows for the debris to be cleared at all intervals for meals, as well as interval for meals like your lunch. You'll find the ground staff, they'll clear the debris from the pitch during the lunch and the tea intervals. How do we clear this debris? Here again, the law guides us. The law tells us you will clear the debris from the pitch by sweeping. The curator will use a broom, and with the broom, the curator will clear the debris from the pitch by sweeping. There is a but, unless the umpires consider that if the curator is going to use a broom to clear the debris, that this might be detrimental to the surface of the pitch. The pitch might break up further if you are going to use a broom to clear the debris. And if this is the case, the law tells us now the curator can then clear the debris using his or her arm. Not allowed to sweep because it's going to be detrimental. You might further break up the surface, but clear the debris. Just use your arm and remove those small stones from the pitch. When it comes to rolling of the pitch in modern cricket, and I'll use test match cricket as an example. So before the game starts, the curator can roll the pitch to his or her heart's content. They can roll for hours to get the pitch ready for our test match. But once the game has started, now the law guides us when it comes to rolling of the pitch. And let's have a look what the law say. So once the game has started, only on 2 occasions can that pitch be rolled. No other times. What are those times? Let's go through the theory and I'll then show you 1 or 2 practical examples how it happens in a test match, just to explain how the theory works. So what is the theory? So once the game has started, you only allowed to roll the pitch before the start of each subsequent innings. That's the first instance. And the second instance is, and before the start of each subsequent day's play. So that is when, on those 2 occasions, before the start of each subsequent innings and before the start of each subsequent day's play. So now we know when. And then the law guides us also in terms of how long, not more than 7 minutes. So you're not, can I please ask everyone to mute their microphones? I hear some background noise. Thank you so much. So your maximum period of rolling that is allowed, 7 minutes. So can a captain roll for 5 minutes? Yes, they can. Can they roll for 4 minutes? Of course they can. For 1 minute? Yes, they can, as long as it's not more than 7 minutes. So that's the theory. Let me just show you practically how this works. Let me just go to the next slide. I'll come back to this one. So at most international and provincial grounds, you will find more than one roller available. There'll be a big roller, which is on the right hand side, left bottom, let's call it the medium roller, and left top, that's the hand roller. Just depending on what's available at the ground. Sometimes they don't only have two rollers available, a hand and a big one. Sometimes they have a hand and the medium one. Sometimes just the big and the medium one. Some club grounds only have one roller available. If that is what you have, then that is what you must use. So now, with there being three rollers available, the batting captain. So I'm now going to explain to you practically how this happens, and let's use our test match as an example. So South Africa, Zimbabwe playing a test match. Day one, toss took place at 9:30. Game started at 10. South Africa won the toss and decided to bat. First ball gets bowled at 10 o'clock. Let's say later in the day at 13:30, South Africa gets dismissed. The Zimbabwe took the 10th South African wicket at 13:30. So what happens now next? So 13:30, South Africa bowled out. So now there will be a 10-minute change of innings. So the umpires will now ask the captain of Zimbabwe, Cappy, do you want rolling? And if yes, you do, we have three rollers available, so you need to tell me which roller you want to use. There's a big one, there's a medium one, and there's a hand roller. And then please also tell me how long you want this rolling to be. Okay, Captain of Zimbabwe then say, yes, umpire, I want rolling. Please give me the big one. And I want the rolling to be for 7 minutes. The umpires will relay that message to the curator. The curator will then, during the 10-minute change of innings, will then get the heavy roller and roll the pitch for 7 minutes. The fourth umpire will then supervise the rolling during this change of innings. So this is the first instance when the rolling is allowed after the game has started, before the start of each subsequent inning. So now this was Zimbabwe batting in their first innings. So let's say Zimbabwe gets dismissed on morning of day 2, let's say 10:30. So now there will now be, as soon as Zimbabwe is dismissed, South Africa will now go into batting their second inning. So there will be a 10-minute change of innings. Umpires will do exactly the same. They'll ask the captain of South Africa, Cappy, do you want rolling? If yes, which one and how long? Captain of South Africa says, yes, umpire, I want rolling. Please, can we use the hand roller? And I want only to be rolled for 3 minutes. No issue. We will relay that message to the curator. The fourth umpire will then supervise this 3-minute rolling using the hand roller. So the option of rolling is on the table. Captain can decide not to exercise the rolling option. If the captain say, umpire, I don't want any rolling, absolutely no issue. Doesn't have to roll. It is on the table. But we cannot deny a captain rolling if the captain wants rolling. Same process will follow where before Zimbabwe go bat in their second innings. So that's before the start of each innings, we will allow this rolling, and that's the process practically that we will follow. And then the second instance where we will allow rolling is before the start of each subsequent day's play. So before the start of day 2, we'll allow rolling. Before the start of day 3 and day 4 and day 5, we will allow rolling. So practically how does this happen? So the umpire, let's use day 2 as an example. So let's starting at 10 o'clock. At test match level, they usually get to the ground about 2 hours before play starts. So you'll find players and umpires get to the field around 8 o'clock. So the first thing that the fourth umpire will do on the morning of day 2, the fourth umpire will check who is batting this morning. The fourth umpire will then go to the batting captain and ask the captain, Cappy, do you want rolling? If yes, which one? And then for how long? And let's say the captain says, yes, umpire, I want rolling. Please, can we have the medium roller for 5 minutes? The fourth umpire will then relay that information to the curator. And in terms of the timing of this this rolling before the day starts, there's a 20-minute window period for this rolling to happen. If play starts at 10 o'clock, any time between 9:30 and 9:50, this rolling can take place. And the fourth umpire will supervise this rolling. So let's say we get to 9:30, the curator is ready. The curator will then use the medium roller as requested by the batting captain. And let's say it was for 5 minutes, the fourth umpire will supervise this rolling. When it comes to covering the pitch, according to the laws of cricket, and this is covering of the pitch after the match has started. Because before the match, the curator, he or she and their staff, they can cover the pitch and field as they see fit. But as soon as the match has started, the laws guides us when it comes to covering. So the law tells us that on each night of the match and in inclement weather, pitch needs to be covered. So I'll use practical examples in our test match, let's say Zimbabwe, South Africa. So day 1, let's say close of plays at 5 o'clock. Before the curator and he or her staff leave and go home, they need to cover that pitch. So each night that pitch needs to be covered on the evening of day 1. Similarly, day 2 and day 3 and day 4. And if there is inclement weather around, like if it's raining, the law also allow for the pitch to be covered. When it comes to covering the pitch, here the law guides us by telling us, please cover the whole pitch and 1.22 meters beyond at each end. And then bowlers run-ups where possible also needs to be covered. So this is the guidance that the law gives us, where the law just tell us in terms of the pitch, cover the whole pitch and 1.22 meters beyond, and the bowlers run up where possible. But there are playing conditions in place that where you'll see if a pitch gets covered, and especially if it's hard, if it's raining hard, you will see the not just the pitch covered, but you will also see the whole square being covered, as well as the bowlers run-ups being covered. So yeah, that's also allowed. Playing conditions allow for that. You'll also see like in countries like Sri Lanka, where they just don't just cover the pitch and the square, they actually cover the whole field. Absolutely no issue. That's also allowed. When it comes to the removal of covers, here the law guides us, but just telling us, yes, cover the pitch overnight, but the next morning, please remove the covers as soon as practicable. There's no timings here. They just say the next morning, when practicable, please please remove the covers. And if we did cover the pitch because of inclement weather, as soon as the rain has stopped, please remove the covers or as soon as conditions allow. Law 11 covers intervals, and I'm going to focus on flexibility that the law brought into when it comes to our scheduled intervals, like our tea and our lunchtime. And I'm going to focus on lunch and tea and what flexibility the lawmakers brought into it to allow us to maximize play during the day. So let's we focus on our test match, South Africa, Zimbabwe. And in test matches, they have 3 2-hour sessions. So in South Africa, the times are 10 o'clock start, and we'll take lunch at 12 o'clock. So now, flexibility that the lawmakers brought into when it comes to our lunch interval, for us just to try to maximize play and get as much play as possible. If an innings ends 10 minutes or less to go to lunch, we will take lunch immediately. We will then enjoy our 40-minute lunch, and we will include the change of innings interval into our lunch break. I'll give you an example to illustrate this. Our lunch in our test match is at 12 o'clock. At 11:52, Zimbabwe gets dismissed. So South Africa takes as a 10th Zimbabwean innings at 11:52. So now lunch is at 12 o'clock. So what happens next now? This is when we can activate this law 11.5.1, where it tells us, law instructs us to save time. If an innings ends 10 minutes or less to go to lunch, you will take lunch immediately. So 11:52, the 10th wicket fell, so lunch will be from 11:52, and we'll enjoy a 40-minute lunch. So first ball after lunch needs to be bowled at 12:32. And we will then incorporate the change of innings interval into our lunch interval. So at 12:32, the first ball will be bowled to South Africa in their innings. But the innings must end 10 minutes or less. If it's more than 10 minutes, you need to have a 10-minute change of innings interval. I'll give you an example. Lunch being at 12 o'clock. At 11:48, South Africa takes the 10th Zimbabwean wicket. So what happens now? 11:48 is now 12 minutes to go to lunch. So in this scenario, we cannot activate this clause. Why? Because you can only use this clause if an innings ends 10 minutes or less to lunch. In my second example, the innings ended 12 minutes to go to lunch. So now what needs to happen is 11:48, the innings ended. Now we need to have a 10-minute change of innings. So the change of innings will now be from 11:48 till 11:58. And during that 10-minute change of innings, we will ask the batting captain, let's say South Africa is now going to bat, we'll ask the captain, do you want rolling? If yes, which roller? And then also how long you want rolling. So first ball needs to be bowled at 11:58, and with lunch being at 12 o'clock, I can only see one over being bowled, so we will play that 1 over, and then we will take lunch after the over. So this is the first flexibility that the lawmakers brought into when it comes to our lunch interval. Second flexibility that the lawmakers brought into the lunch when it comes to the lunch interval. If because of adverse conditions, whether it's ground weather or light, whether it's rain, whether it's lightning, whatever the case may be, if players needs to leave the field when 10 minutes or less to go to lunch, we will take lunch immediately. The law tells us, take lunch immediately. And then we will have our lunch, we will enjoy our 40-minute lunch, and if conditions allow, we will then restart play 40 minutes later. I'll use an example to illustrate this. Lunch being at 12 o'clock. At 11:55, it starts to rain, and umpires ask the players to escort the players off the field because it was raining too hard. This is now 11:55. So what happens? Here you can activate this clause because it's 10 minutes or less to go to lunch. We will now take an early lunch. So lunch will be at 11:55, and we will enjoy a 40-minute lunch. So lunch will be from 11:55 up until 12:35. So first ball after lunch will be bowled at 12:35 if conditions permit. If it's still raining, obviously we can't start at 12:35, but if the rain stopped during lunch and we can restart, we will first ball after lunch will be bowled at 12:35. So these are the two time-saving mechanism flexibility that the lawmakers brought into when it comes to our lunch interval. They did exactly the same for tea. They brought flexibility into our tea interval for us to maximize play, to try to get as much um, playing time as possible during any given day. So what flexibility did they bring into when it comes to our tea interval? If an innings ends 30 minutes or less before tea, we will take tea immediately. Tea will be 20 minutes, and we will incorporate our 10-minute change of innings into our tea interval. I'll use an example to illustrate this. Let's just for round numbers say tea is at 3 o'clock. So at 14:35, the 10th South African wicket falls. So what happens next? So now the law tells us if an innings ends 30 minutes or less to go to tea, we'll take early tea. So South Africa was dismissed 25 minutes to tea, and this falls into the 30 minutes or less, so we can activate this clause. We will now take tea at 14:35. We will have a 20-minute tea interval. So tea will be from 14:35 till 14:55. And we will then incorporate or include the lunch, the change of innings interval into our tea interval. Again, saving time. Let's see more flexibility that the lawmakers brought into when it comes to our tea interval. So when 30 minutes remains before the agreed time for tea, we already have a interval between innings in progress. We need to enjoy that 10-minute change of innings interval, and play will restart after the 10-minute change of innings interval. I'll give you an example to illustrate how 6.2 works. Let's say tea is at 3 o'clock. At 14:25, Zimbabwe gets dismissed. So what happens next? Can we activate clause 6.1 above? We cannot activate clause 1. Why? Because clause 1 says if an innings ends 30 minutes or less. In this example, the innings ended 14:25. It is 35 minutes to go till lunch, till tea. So now we need to have a 10-minute change of innings interval. So from 14:25 up until 14:35, there'll be a change of innings interval. South Africa will come back at 14:35 and play will continue until 3 o'clock when we will take tea at the usual time. More flexibility that the lawmakers brought into when it comes to our tea interval. If due to adverse conditions, and let's just use rain as an example, if it rains 30 minutes or less to go to tea, we will have an early tea. I'll use an example to illustrate this. Tea is at 3 o'clock. At 14:40, it starts to rain and players leaves the field. What happens next? This law tells us because we left the field due to rain 30 minutes or less to go to tea, we will take an early tea. So tea will be from 14:40 up until 1500 hours. First ball to be bowled at 1500 hours if conditions permit. The last time-saving mechanism, the flexibility that the lawmakers brought into, again, to maximize play, to play as much cricket on any given day as possible. And this is when a side is 9 wickets down when it comes to our lunch or our tea interval. I'm going to use lunch as an example, but same principle will apply to tea. But I want to emphasize the side must be 9 wickets down. So the lawmakers saw over the years that and there's lots of stats to back this up, and no disrespect to the number 10 and 11 batters out there, but usually the last wicket they don't bat for too long. There's lots of stats to back that up. So because of this, the lawmakers then brought this particular law in, where to see where we can save some time, and let's have a look at what they did. So they decided that if a side is 9 wickets down when we get to our lunch or our tea interval, but the side must be 9 wickets down. Side cannot be 8 down, cannot be 5 down or 4 down. It must be 9 down. And if they 9 wickets down, we will allow the fielding side an extra 30 minutes, but it's a max of 30 minutes to see whether the fielding side can take the 10th wicket. And if they can, we will then enjoy our lunch or our tea, and then we can incorporate the change of innings interval into our lunch and our tea interval. Again, we're saving time. We don't have to take a 10-minute change of innings interval. But you only get a max of 30 minutes. Okay, that's the theory. Let me give you an example to explain to you how the theory works. South Africa, Zimbabwe. We get to lunch on day 2, and South Africa is 500 for 9. So we get to 12 o'clock, the final ball of the over gets bowled. The umpire look at their watch and they see it is now exactly 12 o'clock, and it's the end of the over. So now law tell us, because South Africa is 9 down, we cannot take lunchtime. We need to give the fielding side a max of 30 minutes to see whether they can take the 10th South African wicket. So scenario 1, South Africa being 500 for 9, it's now 12 o'clock. Let's say Zimbabwe takes the 10th South African wicket at 10 past 12. So what happens next? So now we will take lunch at 10 past 12. So that because the 10th wicket fell at 10 past. Lunch will now be for 40 minutes. So we will enjoy lunch from 10 past 12 up until 12:50. During the lunch interval, we will now incorporate the change of innings into it. We will ask the Zimbabwean captain whether they want rolling, and if yes, which roller and how long. So you can see we are saving time by doing this and incorporating our change of innings into our lunch interval. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2, again, South Africa gets to 500, is 500 for 9 by lunch. And we'll now allow a max of 30 minutes to see whether Zimbabwe can take the 10th South African wicket. But now they couldn't. They struggled to get that 10th wicket. And we get to 12:30. And still, Zimbabwe did not take the 10th South African wicket. So now what happens? And this is, the law allows a max of 30 minutes. So now we've played our 30 minutes. Now, unfortunately, we need to draw the line somewhere. So 12:30, that's the max that we allowed. Sorry, Zimbabwe, you couldn't take the 10th South African wicket. We now need to take lunch at 12:30. Lunch will then be from 12:30 up until 13:10. The last law that I'm covering for this evening is the start of play and the cessation of play. And I'm going to just focus on 2 sections here. Firstly, the completion of an over. Other than at the end of the game, if you get to the interval and you're only halfway, we need to first complete the over, then take lunch or our tea. We cannot get halfway through the over, we get to 12 o'clock and we walk off the field. There is an exception and we'll get to it now. But if I can use an example, lunch is at 12 o'clock. We get to 11:59 and umpire calls over. We cannot take lunch at 11:59, so we will start another over. Let's say when the clock strikes 12 o'clock, the bowlers bowl 2 balls. So what now? It's 12 o'clock on the umpire's watch. Do we walk off the field after the 2 balls? The law tells us no. we first need to complete that over. Bowl that 4 balls, and after the 4 balls are completed, then call over, time, and lunch. So even if that is, let's say it's 12:04 that over is completed, don't worry, umpires and players will still enjoy their 40-minute lunch. Because we ended the session at 12:04, the first ball after lunch will be bowled at 12:44. We must enjoy our 40-minute lunch. There is an exception when we do, even if we get midway and something happens, we then need to take lunch. Let's look at that exception. And that exception is if with less than 3 minutes to go to the interval, and let's use lunch as an example, less than 3 minutes to go, either a batter is dismissed or a batter retires, or we need to leave the field for whatever reason. If that is the case, we will then take lunch, even if it's midway through the over. When we come back after lunch, we can then first complete that over and then start a new over. That's the theory. Let me give you an example to illustrate how the theory works. So our lunch is at 12 o'clock. We get to 11:58, and Zimbabwe takes let's say the 5th South African wicket. 11:58 the wicket falls. So what happens next? And this is where this clause comes in. Then this clause tells us if with less than 3 minutes to go a batter gets dismissed, which in our case 11:58, so it's 2 minutes to go until lunch. And because a batter got dismissed less than 3 minutes to go to lunch, we will take our interval then immediately. We won't ask the new batter to come in. We will take lunch at 11:58. So let's say the wicket fell on the 3rd ball of the over. So we will stop mid-over. Because of the wicket that fell with less than 3 minutes, we'll lead the players off the field. So technically lunch started at 11:58. When must the first ball be bowled after lunch? Correct, 40 minutes later, which is 12:38, that first ball needs to be bowled. So when we come back after lunch, we must first complete the over that we stopped midway through, so that bowler needs to bowl that 3 balls. And then after bowling the 3 balls, we can then start an over from the other side. The last slide that I'm covering tonight, before I'm handing over to Tom, is the last hour of the match and how many overs needs to be bowled in the last hour. So what is this concept of the last hour of the match, and what happens in this last hour of the match? Let me just take you back many decades, so before this concept was brought into the laws. So what happened many years ago was you'll get to, let's say, our test match, day 5. 5 o'clock is cut-off time. We will get to 4 o'clock, and let's say the batting side needs 50 to win. Now we're at 4 o'clock and cut-off is 5 o'clock. Batting side needs 50. So what the fielding side will do is they will slow the game down to try to bowl as little overs as possible, knowing 5 o'clock is cut-off. So they would drag their feet not to bowl many overs so that the batting side don't win the game. The lawmakers then decided, no, this is not fair. Let's find a solution, but let's look at a solution that's fair to both sides. And let's have a look what they did. So this concept of last hour of the match, the last hour of the match is only found on the last day of that particular match. Let's say it's a 5-day test match. You'll find the last hour on day 5, and let's say cut-off time is 5 o'clock. So the last hour in our test match will be from 4 o'clock till 5 o'clock. If it's a 4-day game, the last hour will be on day 4. And let's say 5 o'clock is our cut-off time, it will be from 4 till 5. So once we get to 4 o'clock on day 5 of our test match, the law wants a minimum of 20 overs to be bowled in that last hour. a minimum of 20. And this is what the lawmakers decided. This is going to be fair to both sides. We want the fielding side to bowl a minimum of 20 in that last hour. But again, emphasis on minimum. So last hour will start at 4 o'clock. Cut-off time is 5 o'clock. So in the first scenario, so we now know when we get to 4 o'clock, we now need to bowl 20 overs up until 5. So let's say we get to 5 o'clock and the fielding sides only bowled 15 overs. So what happens now? We've reached our cut-off time. Do we leave the field? No. The law wants a minimum of 20 to be bowled. So seeing that the fielding side only bowled 15 overs, we will play up until we've bowled 20 overs. So they can think they're trying to be slow. We get to 5 o'clock, they've only bowled 15. We will tell them we're going to bowl up until we get to 20. Even if that 20 takes them to 6 o'clock, but 20 they will bowl. That's the one scenario. Another scenario, if the overrate is quick, let's say 4 o'clock, we now know we need to bowl 20 overs. If we get to, let's say, 16:50 and we've bowled 20 overs, what happens next? Remember, the cutoff time is 5 o'clock. But 16:50, we've already reached 20 overs due to a quick overrate. Spinners was bowling from both ends. So now what happens? The law wants a minimum of 20 to be bowled. You can bowl as many as you can. You can bowl 50 overs in that last hour if you can. So if we get to 16:50 and we've only bowled 20, we've already bowled 20, play will continue for a further 10 minutes. 5 o'clock is our cut-off time. We need to then see to get us or try to get as many overs in that 10 minutes up until 5. Once we get to 5, now we can say now we've reached the end of the game. Tom, thank you so much. That's all I'm covering this evening. I'm now handing back over to you.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. And thank you to all the candidates who've posted questions in the chat box. We are now going to go through those questions and then we'll get to the long-standing hand of Rifat, who is patiently waiting to ask his question live. So Ansh typed in the first question in the chat box. He wants to know, for the contact with the bat, when the decision was made, if the contact was not with the bat, should it then have been ruled wide? Or will it be a legal delivery because it touched his body but not the bat? A wide is only given if there is no contact with bat or person. So in that example with Stoinis, there was contact with the glove not holding the bat. That would not have been a wide. If they had ran, it would have been a leg by. Definitely not a wide because there was contact with the person of the striker. A wide can only be awarded if there is no contact with the bat and no contact with the striker. And according to law, the ball is away from the striker. He or she cannot play a cricket shot because the ball is far away from him or her. Okay. Next question is from William. Can the debris be cleared during the drinks break? Abdullah, I've just checked the law book, and the law book tells us that debris should be cleared obviously before the start of play, not earlier than 30 minutes, nor later than 10 minutes before the time or rescheduled time for start of play. Debris should be cleared between innings, and debris should be cleared at all intervals for meals. But it doesn't say anything about the drinks break. So can debris be cleared during a drinks break, please, Abdullah?
Yeah. Yeah, a law doesn't allow for it to be during drinks breaks, Tom, but also it's not practically possible. It's just not enough time. Drinks is 4 minutes. Yeah, to clear the drinks from the debris during a drinks break, practically, and it's gonna hold up play. Not enough time. Um, but yeah, that's practically. But I mean, as you just read now, the law only speaks about clearing debris at intervals for meals, which is your lunch and your tea interval. Over.
I think William might have seen during a drinks break at Newlands during a SA20 match or even a 50 over limited overs match. During drinks break, the ground staff does come on with a broom and they sweep some dust from where the batters are batting. Um, is that allowed? Is that part of the law, or is that a special playing condition that the ground staff is making use of?
Yeah, so what they're doing there, Tom, is, and it happens when the popping crease, because bowler's front foot constantly lands on the popping crease. Sometimes the popping crease disappeared. So that's what
Mm.
the ground staff come on to quickly do. They come to remark those creases. And yes, not wanting to paint over lots of pebbles and debris lying around. They quickly just use a hand broom just to get rid of those pebbles around the popping crease,
Yeah,
just to get that line, drawn on the popping crease. So that's what they do. You'll find it especially in limited over games. It happens quite often, Tom. Over.
perfect. Thank you. Then Isanula is asking, are we learning laws of cricket or are we learning playing conditions in our course? Abdullah, the Cricket South Africa Level 2 exam, is it going to examine playing conditions or is it going to examine the laws of cricket?
Yeah, Isanula, the exam will be based on the laws of cricket. You need to answer your questions in the exam based on laws of cricket and not playing conditions. Yes, I agree. Different countries do have different playing conditions for various competitions. I mean, you've mentioned there, yes, the law says umpires needs to be there 45 minutes before play start. Your playing condition states 90 minutes before play starts. Club cricket in Cape Town says 60 minutes before play starts, but that's different playing conditions for different competitions. But for the purpose of this course and this exam, you will see that we are covering the laws of cricket, and you need to answer in your exam. Your answers needs to be based on the laws and not on playing conditions. I've just covered the last hour. You'll also see there's a difference between playing conditions and law in the last hour. According to law, the law wants 20 overs to be bowled in the last hour. But most playing conditions around the world, let's say Test match cricket, they want 15 overs to be bowled in the last hour. So yeah, playing conditions do sometimes differ to the law. Playing conditions will always override the law, so you need to apply the playing conditions for that particular competition. But Tom, to answer your question, for the purpose of this exam, it needs to be answered according to the laws of cricket. Over, Tom.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. And you have mentioned one or two examples that Isanula was asking about in terms of differences between laws and playing conditions. So now we move on to the hands that are up in the meeting room. And Rifat has been up very early in the lecture. Rifat from Bangladesh, please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening to you all. I have a question about in fitness of play. I think Bangladesh were batting against India, what was probably in a critical match in 2021 World Cup, T20 World Cup, batting for chasing 183 runs. Bangladesh got off a good start with Liton Das 50 of 21 balls. I remember the match was stopped due to rain after the good start. But when the rain stopped, and umpire decided to start play. But Bangladesh captain Sakib Al Hasan was happy when the game started after the rain. According to Sakib, the field was still wet, and the TV camera shows that the field was wet. When the umpire, my question is that after the inspection, when umpire decided to start again play, but after the Sakib's complaint, if the decision can be changed, the umpire can change his decision to further inspection.
Abdullah, who is in charge of the fitness of the field of play? Is it the captains? Is it the coaches? Is it the managers of the teams? Or is it the umpire's sole judgment?
Tom, umpires and umpires alone, they are the sole judges when it comes to the fitness of play. We, as umpires, we impartial, we're not objective, not subjective when we look at a, a situation, and that's why the law leaves it into the umpire's hands, and they need to make that decision whether they feel conditions are fit to play. So the umpires, they'll do make that decision without any input from captains, coaches, players. They need to make that call, and they'll make that judgment call based on the conditions in front of them. Is it, and first thing on their mind is safety of the players. Yeah. And if they feel conditions are fit, they will then, and which in that case, they after doing the inspection, they deemed conditions to be fit to play, and they then ask players to resume. You will never find uh, both sides being happy. I said to you, they subjective. I've been in so many games where just depending on the match situation, our captain, if the one side is behind, they would want to play. If the other side is in front, they would say no, conditions are dangerous. We don't want to play. If you just flip the situation around, they would change their viewpoint accordingly. And for that reason, because they are subjective, the law leaves it into the hands of the umpires and solely in their hands. Over, Tom.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Abdullah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Isanullah, you've got your hand up. Please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours. Isanullah, go ahead.
Hi to Abdullah, hi to Tom, and hi to everyone. My questions was according to laws in playing condition, as I typed it in the chat box also. So, but Abdullah answered me about these things from him. But I have still into different playing conditions from different countries. But we must have learned the playing condition from the ACC, which is using in the World Test Championship, because level 2 is very advanced level. You must learn playing condition in level 2. So I got the answer for the exam that yes, we will answer to the questions in the exam according to the laws of cricket. But it would be better that to learn playing condition of the ACC, which is for the World Test Championship. Thank you.
Isanullah, Cricket South Africa's level 1 exam and level 2 exam and level 3 exams are all based on law. The ICC is busy rolling out level 1 umpiring course around the world. That is based on playing conditions, and next year the ICC will start rolling out a level 2 umpiring course, and that will also be based on playing conditions. So it's up to Cricket South Africa to decide whether they want to have their exams based on law or playing conditions, and they've decided to base their exams on law, and the ICC have decided to base their exams on playing conditions. So look out for the ICC Level 2 course that will be rolled out next year, and that one should be based on playing conditions. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I got it. Thank you very much. So
You're welcome.
the exam will be in lots of I will be ready for that.
Yes, for the purposes of Cricket South Africa's exams, they are all based on law. In level 3, you will have, they will give you the times of the matches, and that's the only real playing condition that you will be working with, but everything else is based on the laws of cricket. Rifat, you've got your hand up again. Please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tom. I have another question about interval. Innings interval. The law tells us innings interval not more than 10 minutes. But when the time is counted, the time will count after the dismissal last wicket in the field, or all the players from the field. When does the the time starts? And umpire when umpire after the innings break, umpire asks the batting side captain for rolling. If the, where the umpire when umpire asks the captain for the rolling in the field or out of the field.
Okay, so Abdullah, there's two questions there. The change of innings is supposed to be 10 minutes. When does that 10 minutes start? Does it start when the 10th wicket falls, or does it start when the players go off the field? And the second question is, when do the umpires ask the captain of the team that is going to bat next which roller they want to use? Because 10 minutes is quite a short space of time if 7 minutes is requested for rolling.
Yeah. So Rifat, technically, the 10 minutes starts as soon as the final wicket gets taken. But as Tom just mentioned, practically, yes, the law says 10 minutes. 99% of the time, change of innings is never ever 10 minutes, because there is. So what needs to happen? The curator needs to come on with the roller. Then 7 minutes. They first then need to clear the pitch of debris. Then rolling will take place, and then the ground staff also do the remarking of some of the creases, and it always is more than 10 minutes. Yeah, we need to try to get it in 10 minutes, but yeah, practically it just does not happen. To answer your second question, so practically what we do, Rifat, is as soon as excuse me, as soon as the side is 8 or 9 wickets down, we start to prompt the fielding captain, saying, Cappy, almost at the end of the innings, I want you to start thinking of which roller you want, and please let us know as soon as you've made that decision. So we don't wait until that final wicket gets taken. Now we approach the captain and ask, which roller do you want? We will usually go after, let's say, the 8th wicket gets taken. Now we prompt the captain. We don't need an answer now. Think about it, but let us know as soon as possible. And many times they come back to us quickly, a minute or two. So then we get a heads up early. So what we'll then do is we will then let the curator know early already they want the big roller or the medium roller for 5 minutes. So then the curator knows which roller to get. They'll then be ready. So as soon as that 10th wicket gets taken, they will then come onto the field. So yeah, that's just practically how we handle it, by asking before the innings ends. And so when the innings ends, we do have that information already. Yes, it does save a little bit of time. We don't wait till the final wicket falls. Now we want to find out which roller they want to take. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. While we are on the subject of rollers, William has asked, can the rollers be used at the change of innings at club matches as well? Rashid, we will come to your question in the chat box after this. Abdullah, can rollers be used in club cricket?
Yes, William, the law allows for the option of the batting captain before the start of the innings that they can be rolled. If there are rollers available at club level and they're working, the batting captain is entitled to have the pitch rolled before the start of the inning. So yes, it can be used at club level if it's available. Many of the club grounds in Cape Town don't have rollers available, so there won't be any rolling. But you do find some of the clubs where rollers are available. Definitely, the law allows for it. So if the batting captain wants it and that roller is working, no issue. We will allow the rolling. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Tula. Coming back to the chat box, Rashid has got a illegal fielding scenario. We will come to the law of fielding, the fielder and the wicketkeeper later on, but we might not have this similar example in our presentation, so let's answer it today. If the wicketkeeper removes a glove, but the glove is still in the wicketkeeper's hand, and the removed glove then takes the catch, is that a legal catch, Abdullah, or is that illegal fielding?
Rashid, the law wants the glove to be in the keeper's hand. That's where it needs to be. As soon as the keeper removes that glove out of the hand, even if the keeper's still holding it, but if the glove is not in the keeper's hand, that glove that is seen as per the law as illegal fielding. The keeper might argue, yeah, but I'm still holding it in my hand. The law wants the glove to be in the hand. That's where it needs to be. And if it's not there, and as soon as the ball touches it, the laws deem that as illegal fielding, and there are consequences. Ball becomes dead as soon as the ball touches it. 5 penalty runs, ball not to count as one for the over, runs completed to be scored together with a run in progress if they've crossed. So yeah, illegal fielding, Rashid, must be in the keeper's hand, and keeper should not be holding that glove. Over, Tom.
I think the word you're looking for there is worn. It must be worn. Otherwise,
that's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
No worries. Thanks, Tula. Great. So I do not see any more questions or comments in the chat box. I do not see any more hands up in the air. Jan has just asked if the keeper must using glove wicket keeper. Jan, please could you maybe type that again or put on your microphone? Are you asking a question or are you telling us something? Doesn't quite make sense what you've typed there. If the keeper must using glove wicket keeper. Kaniso says, so if one glove is off and he catches with the hand that has a glove, that is perfectly fine, Kaniso. If you catch a ball with a glove that is worn, then it is legal. If you catch the ball with a glove that is not worn, that is illegal. Or if the ball hits a glove, even if it's discarded on the floor, if a glove is not worn and the ball makes contact with the glove that is not worn, that is illegal fielding. But if a ball makes contact with a glove that is worn, that is, of course, legal fielding and a fair catch. Jan, please unmute your microphone. Please explain your question or your comment. I can't make sense of it. Abdullah, can you make sense of what Jan is trying to say? No. Jan, are you still with us? Can you type your question again if you are still with us? It looks like Jan is shy to type or speak his question. So I will take this opportunity to thank everybody for their attendance and their interaction. This lecture has been recorded and the video will be uploaded on YouTube by 15 hours after the end of the lecture. Thank you very much for joining us. We will reconvene again next week, Monday, same time, same place, same meeting link. Until then, have a great weekend and keep well. See you soon. Thank you and goodbye.